And we know the reason many of you are here tonight is because you know John. Some of you, you're part of his family. Some of you, you maybe know him from the community. Some folks were talking earlier on there, John, about having been brought along to Sunday school here, and there was an interesting wee conversation happened out there in the foyer, and it sounds as if it's about going to be a joke. How many kids can you fit in a transit minibus? If you want the answer to that, ask John and Jim later on. They were pretty much around the same number, I think you got to. Any kids in this area would have known what it would have been to be picked up by John and some of the other guys here and brought along to Sunday school. And some of those guys are here tonight, so yeah, that's a real blessing. John, will you start us off? Take us back to the early days when you were brought up. Tell us where that was and tell us a wee bit about your background there.
I was born in Scrabba. Well, I wasn't born in Scrabba Estate. I was born in Church Street, but it was about 5 or 6. The Scrabba Estate was being built, and we moved into a new house in the Scrabba Estate. And where we moved to, it was a cul-de-sac, and we were counting the other day. There's something like 32 kids in the cul-de-sac at the same time, the new houses. So you can imagine the mischief we got up to, and we had a lovely place to go to, Scrabba Tower. So we didn't have computers or what you all have today. Scrabba Tower was our bit of fun. Went up the back forest, got a rope, led in the swing. That was us as kids. And I was thinking back to one particular time, it was heavy snow, and right away we got the bits of tin and what have you up in the hills. And we were coming down the hill, 2 of us on this bit of metal. And lucky enough, we bent our heads down to get a bit of speed. And when we stopped and realised there was a wire across, and if we hadn't bent our heads, that was us gone. That's how close I was to as a child. Another incident, this is a bit of a laugh, this one, but it's true. Don't know some of you know about marbles, but we used to play marbles as kids. And I was playing marbles this day with Stephen Brown, and the marble went down the grating. And so me and my wisdom said, lift the grating up. I'll go down and get it, Stephen, you hold it. And as I went down to get it, Stephen let the grating drop. And I passed out. And there was a man, and Mr. Weir, you called him, and he collected cuckoo clocks. And I was brought into this house, Mr. Weir's house, and I woke up, all I heard was cuckoo, cuckoo. And that didn't drive me cuckoo, by the way. But that was some of the incidents we had. But we got picked up. You're talking about the minibus. There was a bus coming into our estate, and 2 ladies from the Baptist would have come and picked us up and took us down. Now, I don't remember going to it for long, probably got through it the way I misbehaved. But there was one instance I do remember, and there was this man, he got up and he had 3 circles, one white, one red, and one black. And he said, the black one is your sin. The red one is the blood of Christ, which cleanses you from all sin and turns you white. That always stuck with me right to this day, those 3 little circles. So that was and like Sunday school was non-existent. I worked, my father was a barman, so you didn't get any pocket money. I had it on the Sunday papers, Telegraphs, Spectator, Chronicle, Saturday Night. I'd done all those because my father would never give you any pocket money. You had to go and get it yourself. My father was a barman, so we didn't see much of him because he worked late hours and what have you. So you basically had the freedom to do whatever you wanted as a child.
But good times, I'm sure, John, as
Oh,
well.
they were
Like
good
by the
times,
sounds of it, yeah.
great friends, and messed about, raiding orchards and things like that. But still, friends yet to today, going back 60 years, I've still got friends from those days. So that was the early days.
Amazing. So where did you go to school? Take us through that wee journey.
Well, I went to Londonderry Primary, there across from the courthouse, and then I went to Scrabble Secondary, a school where you get beat up. Teachers were sadists, so they were. But that's where I went to. And we had one teacher, was very, very smart teacher, Miss Cook. And she couldn't get us to behave in the class. She taught English. And she decided this day, right, follow me, And we said, where we're going? Just follow me, you'll see in a minute. So she took us up to the library. And in the library, she had the Sailor newsletter or Belfast Telegraph, not quite sure which one. But anyway, she threw the papers down. She says, there's the crosswords. She says, you can get a prize. There's the books. You get the spelling. You get the meaning of the words. And we were being taught English. We didn't even know it. And I got hooked on the crosswords. And in fact, I won a tennis racket. One Saturday morning, my mum came up the stairs with a tennis racket, but I had filled in the crossword and won that. So you can teach kids different ways, you know,
Brilliant.
bit of wisdom.
And when you left school, then what was after that, John? Where did that take you?
Well, I left school then. Before that, I'll go back a bit. Sorry, um, about 14 or 15, as young people, we get interested in drinking, which is a bad thing. But the man that lived in North Green, he made his own home brew, and he would have sold a gallon of home brew till you for £1. And the home brew was like dishwater, and it tasted like dishwater. But we drank it, and that was our start. And I was just thinking this morning, I was looking at this vase here this morning, and I was thinking back, I love the wildlife programs. And there's one particular program where these hunters are hunting the monkeys. And somebody came up with the idea, let us make heavy jars, put fruit inside them, and the monkeys will come. So the monkeys came along, put their hand inside the vase, or the jug, or the jar, and they wouldn't let go. They were trapped. They wouldn't let go. That's how they were captured. And I just thought myself, that was me. That day I started on the home brew, that was me captured. And you maybe all different things that's trapping you, but I'm sure there's something that you won't let go of, you know.
And was that then a feature of your life, John? Then
That
moving
was,
forward.
well, I mean, it was never out of work. I always worked, you know, and I got a job as a van boy, £3 a week, £2 to my mum and £1 to me. And as would have it, anywhere I went, there always seemed to be bars next door. And there was a bar next door, Falls' bar, and we would have went in there at the weekends. And then at the Saturday and Friday and Saturdays, you'd have went out, town country, to dance and what have you. But basically, it was all surrounding drink, you know.
So, what sort of line of work would you have been in, John, at that stage?
Oh, I'd have done anything. I worked at Christie's, and then I left there, and I went to Webb's linen factory, and then I left there and went to Blacksmith, the hosiery, and then I left there and went to Wilco. So after Wilco, I'm not going to go any further because that's the next part.
Later on. So, John, there was one night at a dance you met someone special.
Yes.
Tell us a wee bit about that.
Well, my mate was with me, and he says, "Look, here's two girls here from Canada. Well, you want to fancy a dance up?" So up we went, and I'm talking away. And whereabouts in Canada are you from? She looks at me. Canada, I'm from Belfast. But that was my wife, future wife, Karen, and we started going out together, and eventually we got engaged, and then we got married down in St John's there in Church of Ireland, and we had 4 children. 3 are here tonight: Walter and Aaron, or Walter, Drew, and Adam. And Aaron's not here tonight, but he's the 4th one. So that was we moved into Tullycornet, into the high-rise flats, and I had a bit of an adventure there. I went to look around the flat. It says the Corn, do you want to come down and look around the flat, see what we need? We put the key in the lock and wouldn't turn. And this character came down with long hair, Michael Sloan. What do you want? I said, I want into my house. Oh, I'm squatting in here. He says, there's condensation in my house. That was the first meeting of Michael Stone.
Wow.
So we moved, we left there, and my mother-in-law lived around the Braniel. And when I was around the mother-in-law's, the wee shop, I put a sign up to see if anybody would want to swap. And I said to myself, there's no way anybody want to swap to Tullycornet. But anyway, a week or 2 later, got the knock at the door. This wee mom was standing. Are you looking to swap? I says, yep. Where do you live? He says, I live around where Matthew lives there. And had looked around the house. He says, only problem is I've no money to move. Oh, he says, don't worry about it, I'll get you moved. Been much stuff. So we looked around the house and showed us what we had. And the fella in work, the milkman from Belial, is a good friend of mine. I says, look, I'm looking a favour from you. What's that, John? He says, I want you to do a shift. Not just one shift, a double shift. He says, John, I can only do it by lunchtime. So when we got the brother-in-laws together and we got the flat lorry, and into his into his flat, and he opened this door, and he must have had 100 black bin bags shoved up in the corner. So we just got his stuff there under his flat and took our stuff around. So that was me moving into Braniel.
Amazing. And many years later, John, are you still there?
I have 40 odd years there now.
Wow. Amazing. So tell me then, you mentioned earlier on about those early years going around and hearing about those little circles. That didn't leave your memory. Okay, that idea of the black circle, the red circle, the white circle. But when did you first hear the gospel message and think this is something I need to pay attention to?
Well, that's going further.
Mm.
That's going to jump
Take
up
us,
further that.
yeah, take us forward then.
Well, my father took bad. My father was a barman, as I told you, and he took bad. He was in Foster Green's Hospital. And at first, I thought it was TB, but it turned out to be lung cancer. And I was just coming up to 20 when I was in the bar, actually, when it happened. And my brother-in-law came in and told me my father had passed away. So I was just about 20. And at them days, you had nobody to help you. Nobody come and told you what to do, or you just had to get on with it, you know. And that hit me hard. I'm not saying I had to drink any harder because the money wouldn't allow me to hit the drink any harder, but it did hit me hard, you know. So then I left then. Decided one Friday, I'm fed up with the troubles here. Just it was in the 70s, and I'd love to go to England. So next thing, 5 other people said, well, we want to go too. So the following week, there were 6 of us with suitcases, and forward planning didn't come into it. We're on the boat, and we all says, where are we going? Nobody knew where we were going. So lucky enough, Alec Robinson, who played for the Glens, was on the boat. And Alec had married a girl from Agrienton. So he says, oh, that'll do us. We'll go to Agrienton. So we landed in Agrienton. And the digs were one side of the street. And of course, what was the other side? A bar, you know. So we hadn't far to go. And after a while, we spent our money on the drink, got through out of the digs, out onto the street. And there we were, 6 of us, nowhere to go. And we got friendly with a girl up the street, Sandra Walton. And Sandra came down and said, what's wrong? We told her. She says, I'll go and ask my father. Well, he put you up. And I looked at her and I says, Sandra, there's 6 of us. And away she went. She says, that's okay. Come on, let's go. And Jim Walton, he had 4 daughters and a son in the house. But one thing he had was daylight. He had a bar, you know. So you know how the devil works. But when I thought about it, I mean, how many Christians would put 6 strangers up? I wouldn't do it, being honest. I wouldn't do it. But Jim Walton did it, you know. And me and him, he became really my father as such, you know. And as time went on, the other ones left, and there was only myself and Gary Campbell. And Gary left then, and I stayed on for another year. And it's strange when you go to England. Back here, we're fighting a bit out, but when I was in England, I met people from Ballymurphy and the Falls Road and everything else, and we got on great, you know. Yet here we're back here fighting a bit out, you know. So I came home, and I got a job in shorts, and that's where I started work in shorts. And I met Gary Campbell, the fellow I was telling you about in England, and Gary started to tell me about being a Christian. And I couldn't understand what he meant, but I knew it was something different. So he started to invite me to gospel meetings in Briglands and Ballybean. And I started going to hear the gospel. And I used to watch Christians and work. I remember one time walking down with another man. He said to me, John, see that man coming? That's a holy Joe. You stay away from him. Don't go near him. You know, and I wondered myself, what's a holy Joe, you know? But anyway, I started to come under conviction. I started watching Christians. I could have told you a good Christian from a bad Christian, so I could. And this is the way I was getting on. And more and more I was coming under conviction. So I said to Gary, Gary, what about a bit of a change? We're going, the old Sunday night, we're going out. What about going out during the week? And I thought I was being crafty because I wanted to see how Christians behaved during the week. Because Sunday you get dressed up in your suit and everything else, you have all day. What do you like when you have to go to work? So went supposed to go to James's Street in Newton Arts, and Gary came and said, "No, it's changed. We're going to Apsley Street in Donegal Pass, Apsley Street Gospel Hall." And so I went to Apsley Street Gospel Hall, and I was sitting down the back, and George Bates was speaking. And George got up, and it wasn't the gospel message that you would say it was the gospel. He was speaking on the two spies going into the land of Canaan. And he looked straight down at me and he says, you know, there's somebody here tonight, and you're here to spy out the land. And I was sitting, and I said to myself, Gary Campbell doesn't know. He doesn't know. There's only one person knows my thoughts, is God. And when I realized God knew my thoughts, I realized there was a God. And I decided there and then that I wanted to be saved. So anyway, I went to George after the meeting, and I told George about myself. And he says, John, just you get down on your knees and you say in your own words, I'll pray, and you pray whatever way you can, you know. So I just got down on my knees, and I just told the Lord exactly the way I was. I don't know if I can give up the drink, the smoking, the gambling, the cursing, all the things that I was involved in. I don't know if I can give them up, but I want to put my trust in the Lord. And I just felt the presence of God coming down upon me. And I knew that God had accepted me. I knew that I was saved. I went down the stairs and told one of the ladies on the tea, and she said, son, you know it gets harder as you go along. And I looked at her and I said, I'm only saved and you're telling me it's harder. But I was glad because that was true, because there was hard times, you know. And then you had the problem going home to tell the wife. Although Karen took it well, she was happy for me. Then the next day, you get up and you say to yourself, how am I going to face these people in work? Because, Mark, you know what it's like in work. They've all got nicknames for you. And my nickname became John the Bap. And so when I work the next day, I started telling people I got saved. And Ronnie, one of the fitters, said to me, you're not sticking a year, John. And I took a pen out of his top pocket, went over to his table and wrote down the date. And then we're at our tea, and the shop steward, he thought he would chirp in, and he started on me about different things. He says, you Christians, you can't answer questions. He says, my insurance man keeps coming round, I keep asking him the same questions, and he can't answer them. Well, I says, do me a favour, write them down. Now, I had never read the Bible at this particular time. So we wrote the questions down. I went home, got a Bible, started reading the Bible, and it wasn't long till I started getting the answers. Within the following week, sat down a bit of paper. I says, there's all your answers. And I didn't get any help from anybody. I got it from the Bible. And it was silence. So a year later, I went to the same fellow who said you only stick it a year, tapped his shoulder, and he said, John, it's not a year, is it? I says, yeah, more do you say? And I showed him the date. And I says, by the way, I didn't keep it. It's God that kept. God keeps me, not I don't keep it. So that was the start in shorts. And then I had to go around tell the mates and different people, the mother-in-law and the father-in-law, all kinds of people, you know.
And John, what sort of changes did it make in your life?
Well, right away, I had no longer desire for drink. I had no longer desire for cigarettes, gambling, cursing. To this day, from that day to this day, it was 25th of September, 1981. So from that day to this, God took everything away. So if you're sitting here tonight and you think you'll not be able to give up the drink, you'll not be able to give up this or whatever it may be, nothing's impossible with God. He proved it with me. He can prove it with you.
Those are the things you took away, John. What did you find added to your life then? Because obviously life changes when you become
Well,
a Christian.
I found that I had a peace. That I was
Hmm.
able to go to, put my head in the pillow at night and have a peace. There was no stress, no strain, no worries because, well, you still had problems as such, but you could always take your worries to the Lord and you knew you had somebody listening, and he always give an answer. It mightn't be the way that you wanted, but he always give an answer, you know.
And that wee lady in Apsley Hall said something which turned out to be a wee bit prophetic, I suppose,
Yeah.
nearly, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
reality of challenges in
Yeah.
life. You've had your fair share of challenges.
Yeah.
Tell us a wee bit. Take us further forward through some of those.
Well, I'll take it first of all. I'll give you an example. After leaving England and telling Sandra and the rest, a few years later, I got a phone call from Sandra, and she said to me, "John, you still off the drink?" I says, "Yeah. Why are you asking that?" She says, "Well, my father's retiring. We're having a 65th do. Would you come to it? I know you don't drink." So I prayed about it, and I phoned her back and said, "Yes, I'll come over." And I took Walter with me, and we arrived that day, and they hid us out of the way, and then took us to the club that night. And I got to the door of the club, and Jim's Chris, they called the man, said to me, "John, are you one of these born again Christians?" And I says, "Yeah." He says, "Go and sit beside my son there." He says, "With his girlfriend. He's over from Londonderry. He's a soldier." So I went and sat with him all night. And all we did all night was talk about the Bible. He asked me different questions. I didn't know the answer to a lot of them because I was only reading the Bible, but that's the way it was. And I came home, and the following week I got a letter to thank me that he had got saved. He had put his trust in the Lord at the week after I left.
Tremendous.
So that was one. And then I'll give you an example. I'm not going to give names, but we were doing tracks. Walter, my son, was giving me a hand at the time, and we were doing tracks. And I was speaking to him on the door, and I said to Walter, "Would you go up and put that track in that door up there?" So Walter was up, put the track in, and a week or two later, got a call. Tommy Weir, as some of you know, called me. He says, "John, were you giving out tracks there a few weeks ago?" I says, "Yes." "Why, is there somebody complaining?" He says, "No." He says, "There was a man, like I say, I can't mention the name. There was a man got up the stairs. He said to commit suicide." He says, "and the track came through the letterbox. He came down the stairs, read the track, and got saved." So the fact of me getting saved had an effect on other people. And that's what happens when you become a Christian. You lead other people to Christ. So.
God's timing.
Yeah.
Incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. There were further challenges ahead for you, John. Talk us a wee bit about how that would have been as you, I suppose, as life went on. There were
Well,
experiences in life I know that were difficult for you. Tell us a wee bit about that.
coming from a big family, aunties and uncles, there's a terrible lot of funerals to go to. Sad to say. And it seemed to be the pattern in my life, a lot of funerals. And then my mother took ill, and I went down to see her, and I had the joy of leading her to the Lord. She died I wrote them down because of my head for beggars. She died on 8th of June 1983. So I was my mother. My father had gone. And then the next one to pass away in my family was my brother, Raymond, on the 10th of May 2000. This is a terrible time this time. Raymond died on the 10th of May 2016 with cancer. And then my brother-in-law, Mark knows him, David DeZale, uh, he passed away on the 28th of March 2017. And then it wasn't long after that, just barely, I don't know, you work it out, 2 or 3 months, my wife passed away the 27th of May 2017. And then my brother passed away, Ken, on the 31st of October 2021. But I would like to just maybe speak a bit about Karen, if that's okay. Um, what happened with Karen was her mother passed away, and then David passed away. And then we were out, it was Easter time, we were out for a meal, and she came home and she said, I couldn't make them stairs, John, earlier on. I struggled. And I says, what do you mean? Are you out of breath or what? She says, I don't know. I just didn't have the energy to go up the stairs. So I phoned the doctors on the Wednesday after Easter Tuesday. Went round to the doctors and told the doctor sent her up to casualty. We got the casualty and she said, I can't make it out of the car. So I says, look, I'll go in, book us in. So booked us in the casualty. A girl come out and give her some kind of injection into her stomach. So anyway, she was taken into the ward and done tests on her and discovered that certain arteries were blocked, and she would probably have to go to the Royal. So anyway, we had an appointment with the main doctor over in the Royal, and he told us that we're going to do the operation, but that she might need a balloon in or maybe even a wheelchair type of thing. So anyway, I was on the Friday. She was to go in the afternoon. So I said, look, I'll just go into work because I finished 11:15 and I'll come on up. So lucky enough, I had phoned at 9 o'clock and she said, no, I'm going in shortly. So I raced out of work. I don't know what speed I was doing up the road. And I managed to get to the Royal for 10 o'clock. And as I got to the Royal, she was just getting wheeled out. And had a bit of prayer with her and said, don't be worrying, everything will be all right. So anyway, the afternoon, we got a phone call to go up. And she hadn't wakened. And I found that hard. And that night, they decided to do an operation at the side of the bed, but she never woke. And we just had to wait and wait. And I just said there, because somebody once told me, the last thing to go in anybody's their hearing. And I just says, Karen, don't be fighting. Let go. Because Karen, although she didn't grow up as a Christian, she told me a story when she was 7. Uh, Auntie May, as you call everybody Auntie and Uncles in here, Sunday school. Auntie May Nichols, had a class down in the Green in the Brannel, and a man called Uncle Dan came over from Scotland and took a children's meeting, and Karen got saved at that meeting. But she went home, and there was nobody in the house that way inclined, so she grew up basically back in the world again. But she knew she was saved. Like, so I just says, Karen, let go. And that was, well, I had to go home and get over that, you know. And then my brother Ken took bad, and he was complaining about his back. And apparently the cancer was eating away at his spine. He died during COVID 2021. But God gave me the strength over it all. I could never have got through all that, you know.
And you had your own health challenges, John, over the years as
Well,
well.
it's like emergency ward 10 here. Well, I had a few challenges. Like I took bad, so I did, and I don't know what. It's just out of the blue. I mean, like I say, I hadn't drank, hadn't smoked or anything like that, and all of a sudden I started taking bad. And this particular night, I was really bad, and Karen got the ambulance, and they rushed me up to the hospital. And I don't know what happened because I had passed out, and Karen says that the surgeon saved you there, whatever he did. And anyway, they done tests, and they come back with the results. And just as blunt, he came out and just said, liver transplant. Liver transplant, he says, a third of your liver's gone. You have cirrhosis of the liver. So that was, that was the start of me. Like.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started going to the Royal, pardon me, started going to the Royal for tests and different things. And then when you're on the liver transplant list, there's only certain parts get certain livers. Northern Ireland gets a part, Scotland gets a choice, Birmingham gets a choice. So it depends what section you're in. So I was in the Belfast section. Uh, I then went over, I forget the time, but I went over to London and I got different tests. And this particular time, I was laying in the ward, and Dr. Galway, big Irishman, like, he was massive. Dr. Galway came in and he says, John, he says, we've discovered a tumour behind your liver. He says, but don't you worry. He says, we'll burn it away. I said, you'll do me. You're my man. That's it. So anyway, I came home, and the first time it was brought into the Royal to get the operation, and put a very fine wire in an unpleasant place. And in the middle of the operation, they stopped, and they said, "We're going to have to stop." Johnny says, "It's a very fine blood vessel, and it's blocked." So this was on a Tuesday. So he says, "We're going to have to bring you back down on Thursday." So that was okay. So on the Wednesday, Dr. McDougall, who was the main liver transplant coordinator, the main man, he came round with a team, and he asked me about whether we were ready to go down. And I explained to him that I'd already been down. So away he went, and he came back. He says, "You're not going down tomorrow?" And I says, "Why?" He says, "Because they've damaged your hepatic artery." He says, "And that's the main artery for your transplant." So I was the next time they decided then to bring me back about 3 or 4 months later, and they decided to do it through my side. So they froze the side, put the wire in through my side. Halfway through the thing, I let a yelp out of me. And your man says, "Did I hurt you?" I says, "I thought you were putting a knife through me." He says, "I'm very sorry. I went up the wrong way. It wasn't frozen." Thanks very much. So that was the second time. Uh, so I was supposed to go in again at Christmas, and I said to myself, "What do I do here?" So I got a letter anyway from the Royal to say it had been cancelled. You were going over to London in February the 4th, and February the 4th came. They put me in a hotel, and across from the hotel was a university hospital. So on the Monday morning, I walked straight out of the hotel over to the hospital and got checked out. And they went to knock me out. And I said, "Your mom, what are you doing?" "I'm knocking you out." I said, "I never got knocked out in Belfast, but knock you out here." That was it. I woke up anyway, and I was as bad as could be the whole night. I was taken down the next morning for the x-rays, next day, sorry, not next morning. And there was a lady standing smiling at me, and I says, "Do I know you?" She says, "I'm Wendy Littlejohn, your coordinator. We're just waiting the results of your test." So she came back. She said, "Everything's clear, John." I says, "That's great. Can I go home?" "What?" I says, "Can I go home? It's only an hour on the plane." So I sailed out that, or flew out that Tuesday at the same day. Got home Wednesday morning. Karen come running up the stairs, 7:30 in the morning. Threw the phone down the bed. Says, "You're wanted." Lifted the phone up. "Yes, this is Keynes. Are you home?" "Yes." "Can you make it over here right away?" "Over where?" "Keynes. We've a possible liver transplant for you." So there was me coming home on the Tuesday, straight back on the Wednesday morning. We got the 10 o'clock plane from the Belfast City Airport. Ambulance was waiting on the other side, red light, right through London, straight into red, all waiting for me. 7 hour operation. And only God can do that. There's no man can plan that. And they filled me full of morphine. I could tell you many a story about the morphine. It drives you crazy. Like, I was seeing things and hearing things. Corn was in stitches.
And through all those difficult experiences, John, whether it be the illness, the loss of loved ones, whether it be your own health as well, tell us a wee bit about how you've known God in the middle of all that.
Well, I had always faith in God. No matter what came my way, I just left it in God's hands.
Hmm.
I never had any worries in that sense because God was in control. There's nothing I could do to change anything.
Hmm.
It's only God, you know. But there's a continuation of that story. I can finish
Oh
it. I
yes.
forgot about it. I'll finish it. And just a year or two ago there, I got a letter back from the hospital. They said the Indian professor over in London was looking at your X-rays and what have you, and we think we can see a stent that's been left inside you. And I said, so how could a stent be inside me? She said, didn't put stents in me. Well, we don't know, but you're going to have to go and get checked out. So anyway, went and got and they found out there was something blocking the thing. So I had to go back into the Ulster, and they couldn't get the stent out at the first time. And then I took cancer. I was bad in my stomach, and I was wondering what was wrong with me. And I went to the doctors and went to the hospital. They done a biopsy, and they said there's a cancerous mass in your stomach, and it's leaking, and that's what's making you bad. So, plus having the stent, I then had cancer to deal with, and the doctor wouldn't let the ones take a stent out till I finished the cancer treatment. So eventually I had chemo and I got the cancer, the word it was all clear. And then they took me back in and they removed the stent. And they also found a 20 centimeter stone wherever that came from. So that was the next continuation, you know.
Wow. John, as you look forward to the future, what is it you're looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing all my family saved, all my friends saved, my granddaughter saved. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that matters to me. You know, I have no desires for wealth or as long as I've got my health, that's all I want, you know. And the Sunday school kids and everybody comes here, you know.
And John, we've got to know over the years, I suppose you've a real heart for the people in this area, real
Mm.
heart for the people in the Braniel as
Yeah.
well. Tell us a wee bit about why that is.
Well, growing up, when I moved over to the Brandon, my sons were all young, and most of their friends would have came to the Sunday school, and with some characters came here on a Sunday, Matthew, not telling about you, and with Gary Murphy and people like that, you know. And Mason, who gave us testimony here, came. Big James came. And I've seen many of the young people later on in life putting their trust in the Saviour. So the work that you do with young people is never wasted. You know, because later on in life, like I remember the empty circles, something will come back in their mind. The Bible says that. Train up a child when he is old and not depart from it. Or train up a child the way he should go, and when he is old and not depart from it. So I think it's very important. I mean, especially today, we see what's happening. Our children are being inundated with all the foolish nonsense of the day. And it's getting worse, you know, and we have to be on our guard. What's happening to our children, you know, we're the guardians, and it's up to us to make sure they're protected. So that's really what my desire to see my family and my friends and everybody see it, never mind, you know.
John, thank you for taking the time tonight just to come and to share with us a wee bit of your story